Ernst and Young exposes a 4 terabyte database to the open internet. A former L3 Harris executive pleads guilty to selling 0 days to a Russian broker. Chrome is hit by a sophisticated zero-day spyware campaign, and nation-state hackers breach U.S. telecom provider Ribbon Communication. This is Cybersecurity Today. I'm your host, Jim Love. Even the world's biggest consulting firms can make the simplest mistakes. Dutch researchers revealed that Ernst and Young, or EY, one of the big four accounting giants, accidentally let 4 terabytes of SQL server backup exposed to the open internet, unencrypted, and filled with sensitive data. The backup contained API keys, authentication tokens, passwords, and user credentials, essentially the master keys to EY's systems. Neo Security, the firm that discovered the exposure, said it was like finding the blueprint and the physical keys to a vault with a note saying, "Free to a good home." According to the reports, the leak happened because someone, trying to save a little time, left a cloud bucket unprotected. One tiny move that made the database public. They left it that way for less than 5 minutes. But automated bots scooped up the data like this within minutes of exposure. What they didn't realize is that any data left unencrypted on the internet for even a few minutes is going to be detected and stolen. Once notified, EY's team acted quickly and fixed the issue, but the message here is simple. You can't leave unencrypted data on the internet even for a few minutes. It's a hard lesson to learn, but one that we can all take away from this, because given the right set of circumstances, almost any one of us could have made the same mistake. The former head of a U.S. defense contractor's cyber division has pleaded guilty to selling classified hacking tools to a Russian broker, one that openly advertises exploits to government clients in Moscow. Peter Williams, a 39-year-old Australian who ran Trenchant, the cyber operations unit of L3 Harris, admitted to stealing and selling national security-focused software that included at least 8 zero-day exploits meant only for the U.S. and its allies. The Justice Department said that Williams sold these tools for millions in cryptocurrency and even agreed to provide ongoing support. The scary part about this, if I read it right, was that Williams even had a contract for the payment of these quote-unquote services. And ironically, or criminally, earlier this year, Williams had fired a developer he falsely accused of leaking Chrome 0 days. That developer later told one publication, "I was a scapegoat. I wasn't guilty." And I guess that developer's finally been vindicated now that Williams is under house arrest in Washington, D.C., awaiting sentencing in January 2026. And it's a reminder that insider threats can come from anywhere, even the very top of a company. Researchers have confirmed a vulnerability that let attackers break out of Chrome's built-in sandbox and gain deep access to the operating system. It's listed as CVE 2025-2783, described in the U.S. National Vulnerability Database as an incorrect handle in Chrome's Mojo component on Windows. Attackers exploited it in espionage campaigns earlier this year. How dangerous was it? Well, in some cases, simply visiting a link in Chrome was enough to trigger the exploit. It is now patched, so if you're running the latest version, you're safe. But this is part of a much bigger story. Browsers are now an extremely popular attack surface in cybersecurity. And with the new AI browsers like OpenAI's Atlas and Perplexity's Comet, both are built on the same Chromium foundation, so it's fair to ask whether they'll be next. And if Chrome, after years of testing, still has holes, what about brand new AI browsers, rushed to market, and already having prompt injection risks? They may only be at the beginning of what some researchers call a vulnerability harvest. I'm a big believer in AI and believe we have to experiment with it, but Until we see some real independent security validation of these browsers, it might be smart to be cautious or even to keep those AI browsers off your corporate network. I confess this is not my big area of expertise, and if somebody out there in the audience has some way we can talk about this at a deeper level, get in contact with me. And finally, hackers working for a nation state breached networks at Ribbon Communications, a U.S. telecom services provider that connects many of the world's biggest carriers, including Verizon, BT, and Deutsche Telekom. According to filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the breach began in December 2024 and went undetected for nearly a year. So far, 3 smaller customers were reportedly affected, although there's no sign that government clients or core systems were compromised. Cybersecurity experts say this fits a growing pattern of espionage campaigns aimed at the telecom and network infrastructure providers, the companies that sit at the very heart of global communications. Pete Renas of Palo Alto Networks told Reuters that attackers target these firms to establish long-term persistence within their networks to enable global espionage. Ribbon's customers include major carriers and government agencies, making it a prime target for these state-aligned hackers, especially from China and Russia. It's a stark reminder that the weakest points in the system isn't always the end user. Sometimes it's the service provider that connects to everyone else. And that's our show for today. You can reach me with tips, comments, or even some constructive criticism. Check us out at technewsday.com or .ca. Use the Contact Us page. If you're watching this on YouTube, just leave a note under the video. I'm your host, Jim Love. Thanks for listening.